You picked it up 3 minutes ago. You know you did. And yet your hand is already moving toward it again. You don't even know why. There's no notification. No one is waiting for you. Nothing has changed, but something inside you is absolutely certain that you need to check. Right now. That pull you feel isn't weakness. It isn't a character flaw. It is one of the oldest and most powerful survival mechanisms your brain has ever developed, and it has been completely hijacked. Here is the real reason you can't stop checking your phone. Your brain runs on predictions. Every second of every day, it is generating thousands of tiny forecasts about the world around you. What will happen next? Whether that noise is a threat, whether that face is friendly, whether that action will bring a reward. This is not a metaphor. Neuroscientists call it predictive coding, and it is the fundamental operating system of your mind. The brain doesn't react to the world. It predicts it. When reality matches the prediction, nothing interesting happens. When reality doesn't match the prediction, your brain fires a surge of dopamine. Not because something good happened, because something unexpected happened. That distinction matters enormously, and it is the key to everything. In 2005, neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz published findings that changed how we understand the reward system. He and his colleagues had spent years studying dopamine neurons in primates, and what they found was counterintuitive. Dopamine didn't spike when the animal received a reward. It spiked when the reward was unpredictable. When the animal couldn't be sure if something good was coming, the dopamine system lit up like a flare. Certainty, it turns out, is boring to your brain. Uncertainty is electric. Now think about what your phone delivers every single time you open it. Sometimes there's a message. Sometimes there isn't. Sometimes someone liked your post. Sometimes no one did. Sometimes there's news that matters. Sometimes there's nothing at all. The outcome is always slightly uncertain. And that uncertainty, that not knowing, is exactly the condition under which your dopamine system fires most intensely. You're not addicted to your phone. You're addicted to the moment before you know what's there. Behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner identified this pattern in the 1950s. He called it variable ratio reinforcement, and he discovered it almost by accident while studying pigeons. When a pigeon received a food pellet every single time it pressed a lever, it pressed the lever steadily and stopped when it wasn't hungry. But when the food came unpredictably, sometimes after one press, sometimes after 20, the pigeon pressed the lever obsessively, relentlessly, almost without stopping. The behavior that was hardest to extinguish was the behavior attached to the most unpredictable reward. Slot machines were designed around this exact finding. So was your phone. Every feed, every inbox, every notification badge uses variable ratio reinforcement by design. The engineers who built these systems knew exactly what they were doing. In 2017, former president of Facebook, Sean Parker, said publicly that the platform was built to exploit a vulnerability in human psychology. His words, not an interpretation, a vulnerability. But here's what Parker didn't say, and what most conversations about phone addiction miss entirely. That vulnerability is ancient. It didn't emerge because of smartphones. It was built into your brain hundreds of thousands of years ago because it kept your ancestors alive. Imagine a world without grocery stores, without refrigerators, without agriculture. Your food doesn't sit in a box on a shelf. It hides, it moves, it migrates, it disappears depending on the season. The only way to survive is to constantly scan your environment for signals, to stay alert to any change that might indicate a resource nearby, to never fully stop paying attention, because the moment you stop is the moment you miss the thing that keeps you alive. Anthropologist and researcher Christopher Boehm spent decades studying hunter-gatherer societies and found that social information was treated with the same urgency as food and threat information. Knowing who was allied with whom. Knowing who had what. Knowing what had changed in the group since you last checked. These were survival data. Missing them could get you exiled, attacked, or left behind. Your brain evolved to crave updates, to feel uneasy when the information horizon is stale, to compulsively recheck an uncertain environment because in the world your brain was designed for, an uncertain environment was a dangerous one. The researchers at Stanford's Persuasive Technology Lab founded by behavioral scientist B.J. Fogg, have mapped how digital products are engineered to activate exactly this drive. Fogg's model, now used by product designers all over the world, describes three elements that create behavior: a motivation, a trigger, and an ability. Your phone has all three in abundance. The motivation is built into your evolutionary wiring. The trigger is always in your pocket. The ability requires nothing more than a thumb. No willpower can easily override a mechanism that ancient. Think about the scroll. Why does the feed never end? Because an ending is a signal that there's nothing left to find. And if there's nothing left to find, your brain can relax. Infinite Scroll was invented by Asa Raskin in 2006, a designer who later said publicly that he regrets it. He estimated it cost the world around 200,000 hours of human attention every single day. The scroll never ends because the moment it ends, the uncertainty resolves and your brain stops firing. The goal of the feed is to keep you in the not knowing forever. And here is where it gets stranger still. The content doesn't even have to be good. It doesn't have to be relevant to you. It doesn't have to make you happy. Research published by psychologist Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia showed that people would rather do almost anything than sit quietly with their own thoughts. In one study, participants were left alone in a room with nothing to do and given the option to give themselves mild electric shocks. More than 2/3 of men chose the shock over silence. Your brain is not looking for pleasure when it reaches for the phone. It's looking for stimulation, for the sensation that something is happening, that the environment is live, that you are plugged into the flow of events, that you are not missing something that matters. Because in the ancestral world your brain still believes it lives in, missing something that matters could be fatal. This is why it doesn't matter how boring your feed is. This is why you can scroll through content you don't care about for 40 minutes and still feel the urge to check again 5 minutes later. The behavior is not about the content. It's about the act of checking itself, the micro moment of anticipation, the dopamine hit of the not knowing. You are not looking for information. You are medicating a discomfort that evolution installed in you to keep you scanning. What does this mean for you right now in a world that has no saber-toothed cats and no risk of missing the berry migration? It means the discomfort you feel when you put your phone in another room is real. It is not imaginary. It is not dramatic. It is a genuine signal from a system that was designed to produce urgency. Fighting it with willpower alone is like trying to stop sweating through concentration. The mechanism runs deeper than conscious control, but knowing what the mechanism is changes your relationship to it. Neuroscientist Judson Brewer has spent years researching craving and habit loops and found that simple awareness of what a craving actually is can reduce its power. Not willpower, not restriction, awareness. When you feel the pull to check your phone, you can recognize it as an artifact, a survival reflex misfiring in a context it was never designed for. The discomfort is not a message from the present. It's a signal from a world that no longer exists. Your ancestors lived and died by their ability to stay alert to uncertainty. That restlessness, that scanning, that constant reaching toward the unknown edge of the information horizon, it saved their lives thousands of times over. You inherited it completely. And every time your hand moves toward your phone without thinking, you are running the same ancient software they ran. Just pointed at a feed instead of a forest. The next time you feel that pull, before your thumb moves, just notice it. Feel the pull without acting on it. Notice that it is there, and that it is old, and that it was built for a world your phone is very good at pretending to be. That pause is not nothing. That pause is the first moment your brain has ever been asked to be more modern than its design. You picked it up 3 minutes ago. You know you did. Now you know why.